Stories. Hello there. This is Richard from São Paulo,
This is Nick from London.
and we are the Double Doys.
Double doors.
And here we are with our second story, talking about a little bit of relationship advice from Reddit. So let's start.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm listening. I'm really excited about this story, up and coming story.
So let's go here. The title of it says, "Man, 20 years old, girlfriend, 20 years as well. My girlfriend is that set on a baby name and refuses to change. It's causing arguments." So let's go here. Okay, so first he disclaimed like, hold your talk of having kids young, etc. Blah blah blah. I've heard enough and all that. That's another discussion for another day too.
Yeah.
Like how young people get pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't
all
want to
right.
judge.
So yeah, it's I live in Brazil, so there's a lot of to talk to. There's a whole stereotype behind it.
Yeah.
And all
Yeah.
that. But I know every country has one kind of stereotype like that. Okay, so my girlfriend is currently 7 months pregnant, and this has been an ongoing issue from the day one we learned
Yeah.
she was pregnant.
Okay.
She has always been dead set on a name for her firstborn son. In fairness, I knew this from early on. She told me she wanted to call her son this name since she learned how babies were made, and she's been so stuck on it that she told her family she was claiming the name so nobody else could take it. You would think maybe
Okay.
you would grow out of it. I know my taste in names have changed dramatically, but apparently she's been sure of this name for about 15 years. At first, it wasn't an issue. I didn't expect us to have kids until much later in life. I told her back then I wasn't really a fan of the name, but I didn't
Okay.
push much because I figured by the time we had kids, she would probably have changed her mind. Of course, our life has now been rerouted as we were having a baby much earlier than expected. She knew I hated the name from day one and tried to compromise, saying if it was a girl, I could name her whatever I like it. I
Yeah.
jokingly said I would call her something stupid like Derek or Chlorine, and she shrugged and said she didn't mind so as long as she got to name our son. Gender reveal
Yes.
came, and it was a boy. Of course,
Yeah.
she was ecstatic and immediately began to refer our baby as her name of choice
Okay.
without really having a sit down to consult me about how I felt. It's caused a lot of an arguments recently, especially as we get near to the due date. Anytime the topic of name comes up, she completely shuts me down. She says I can pick the middle name and I can call him whatever nickname I want. But she absolutely refuses to budge on the first name. No matter how much I tell her I dislike it, she says if or when we have another child, I can have complete control of the name and she won't object at all. But that doesn't change the fact I hate these names. This culminated in a huge issue the other day where she essentially told me to stop hammering on about it because she wasn't going to change her mind. I told her she was being selfish and difficult, albeit we both used much harsher words. She
Yeah.
ended by saying that she had picked this name out for many years, and I had alternatives and compromises that I just wasn't taking. It doesn't feel that way. What can I even do in this situation? Am I just stuck naming my son a name I dislike because she refuses to budge? Um, my girlfriend picked out a baby name 15 years ago if she had a son. We are having a boy. I hate the name she's picked, and she won't budge at all, just like reinforcing. Um, and there's a little edit saying the name. The name is
Is
Bo.
Bo.
Beau. Bo.
Bo.
Or ball.
I have
Depending on.
I have no problem. I have no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, it
I was
yeah,
expecting more. Seriously, that was such a build up. I thought to myself, "Whoa, looking forward
yeah,
to the
exactly.
upcoming story." Like I said, and I was hoping that it would be something like I don't know. God, what's the worst name? Tarquin. There's an English name called Tarquin, which no one really likes in the UK.
Oh, we
Tarquin.
definitely have like weird names in Brazil, you know, it's like a thing too. So,
I thought it was
but it
illegal to
says
name a
like,
child a non-Brazilian name. I thought it was illegal to do that in Brazil. Isn't there a law in
oh,
Brazil?
oh, oh, really? Tell
Yeah.
that to my mom. I'm Richard.
Richard, right, I swear, after we do this, I'm going to look up the law and I'll tell you. I know there's a law in Brazil, but I don't think anyone actually enforces the law. But I, I, I think
I
there's a law.
don't know. I know nowadays there's a law for like names that could cause like problems like in school or something like that that can like
Richard?
uh Richard, yeah. I have my like part of like bad names and all of that like that. Oh, but there's a little part that I missed.
Yeah.
The name is Ball. I did put it in the comments, but putting it here too easy for sake. I'm grateful. It's not
Mhm.
disgusting, butcher, misspell, name at least. It's just not my style. It makes me think of a dog. Really
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
fan
yeah,
of
yeah,
it at all.
yeah.
No, it's not short for a Beauregard. No, she won't change the spelling to Bo, B-O. So that's it. That sums it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So,
is it
my
spelled
friend,
is it
what
spelled
do you
B
think?
O or not B O? B what is it again? The spelling?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Beau.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But
Oh, that Bo, yeah.
it says like
The French way.
I search for, yeah, the French
It's a
way. I
French way to
look
say Bo. Yeah.
for it. Exactly, bowl. How
Yeah,
would you
Bo.
say? How would you spell in English? Bowl too?
Bo. We say it's a French name that English people have as well, like Bo. I know some Bows. Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
spelled the same
but
way, like
man,
the name spelled. Yeah.
but the rule to name your kid is to think how many nicknames he's gonna have in school. How many different ways like his friends are gonna like make fun of him. That's my rule, like to name a kid. I don't know.
The thing is,
How did
with
you
naming,
name
there's
your
several rules. I've
kids?
got two children, so I think I can. I work this. I've been in this situation twice in my life, and the first thing that
Exactly.
you have the argument where, for instance, I come from a line of Nicks. Like my dad is Nick, my great grandfather was Nick, my cousin is Nick, my nephew is Nick, and I'm Nick. So Nick is a tradition in my family. We call a lot of Nicks. So I
Oh,
always said to
mine
myself,
is
if I had a
R.
son, yeah,
Yeah, my family, like most of the men's, they start with R.
yeah, that's
It's
interesting. That's really
Richard. My
interesting.
dad is Ronaldo. So yeah,
Your dad is Ronaldo, really, the footballer.
yeah, the footballer, exactly. Yeah, I'm little Ronaldo,
That'd be
or
amazing if you
little
were.
Cristiano, or little Chris, if you guys want to say
I'm
that.
thinking about the other Ronaldo, the old Ronaldo.
Oh, the
um,
old Ronaldo, like phenomenal.
yeah.
Mhm.
So what names as well? If I had a son, I always said I would call him Nick. That's no discussion, nothing. There wouldn't be a compromise. I would leave someone if they said no. That's just stupid because your dad is Nick and your cousin's Nick and your nephew's Nick, and in a room of Nicks, it's very confusing sometimes. But I think that's the charm, and that's what makes everyone laugh. Is when you say Nick and everyone looks up. I like it. I find it funny, and I hope my grandchildren are called Nick. But unfortunately, I didn't have a boy, so my sister in Jamaica, her son's Nick. So we kept the tradition that way, which upsets me, but that's life. I have to deal with it. But also, when you name people with surname and first name in England, I don't know whether you have that in Brazil. Like we had a guy in our school called Justin Time, yeah. So it was Justin was his first name, and his surname was Time. Yeah. So it was like you're just in time, which yes, yes, but everyone knew that, you know. And also, we had a girl. My friend went out with a girl called Theresa R. Green. Sorry, Teresa Green. So it was Teresa Green, but her name sounded
Uh-huh.
like Therese R. Green. No, Teresa Brown. It was one of
Uh,
those jokes that people used to have. So I think that if you have a name, a surname, you shouldn't call your children something to make them laugh. Also, if your name, for instance, if your name is, think of a name, Trump, yeah? If your name is Trump, your surname is Trump, you shouldn't call your son Donald. That's not funny.
yeah,
So Donald Trump, that's not,
it's
that may be
like,
a funny joke for
mm-mm.
you, but no, 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 no,
Mm,
don't do
no, maybe not. Yeah, yeah, I think it's gonna be like a huge problem, actually.
that.
Uh, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So, yeah,
there are cases like that too in Brazil, and it's a little bit weird sometimes. But nowadays, I heard more than once or even like a few people changing their names after they like turn 18, which is
hmm
like the legal age for most of things in Brazil. Um, so I don't know. Like that's the thing. Sometimes when you're a kid, you don't like your name much. Me personally, when I was a kid, because back then my name wasn't like the most common name in Brazil, I didn't
yeah,
like my name so much. But with time, I got used to it. And today, I love my name. But it's weird. And in this case specifically, I don't think it's like a so awful name, like that.
no, no,
It's like,
it's not.
oh, okay,
It's
yeah.
different.
It's
What would be worse is if she named their son after her ex boyfriend. Yeah,
oh,
that would be
that would
bad.
be bad.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's like I've always liked his name. Why do you
I
like
see.
his name so much? It's like because
Yeah,
it's like
it's
going back
it's
to the
weird.
last story, from the previous episode. It's like if his girlfriend, the one was found, yeah, if she called their son after the man was who was in bed with her, then that would be
Yeah, the
horrible.
connection.
Yeah,
That would be funny. But
that
yeah,
would be
but
funny.
in this case, it says that like since she like learned how babies are made, I presumably it's like when she was a kid, she like wanted that name. So I guess it's like a childhood dream, kind of a thing,
Yeah, yeah,
and turning to an adult kind of a thing. So I guess it's like fair. I don't think like because it seems that the guy knew like the whole time that she wanted that, and she was
yeah,
like very like fiercely like
yeah,
claiming the
yeah,
name
yeah,
and all
yeah.
that. So I guess that's like something that you you should like just accept or discuss that before, because like knowing that for I guess like how long they date, I don't think they it says over here,
Doesn't say.
but come on, like y- you know how important it is, and he doesn't show like anything that is like why it's so
Yeah,
important to not
give us
change
a
just
reason.
because he considers the name stupid.
Give us a reason behind that. If he said, like I said, an ex-boyfriend or an old-fashioned name or something that his enemy, he could have an enemy that he didn't like, and he goes, "How can you call it that name?" This is how I see it. There's two ways to look at this. I think that naming a child should be democracy. It should be between two people. I agree with that.
Mhm.
The woman shouldn't just say like, "This is the name of the child," and that's what it's going to be. The man should
Mhm.
compromise as well. We should both compromise about the name of the child because the child's going to have that name for a long time. The second thing is the man doesn't have to call his child by the name because I've got loads of friends who never like the name of the child, so they just start calling the child by another name. And then in the future, what
Yep.
happens is that child becomes that. Like my friend Terry, I thought his name was always Terry. I never knew his name was Simon. He was named after his dad, but I always thought his name was Terry. I'd known that guy for 20 years. And then I found out his name was Terry after that. I'll tell you another story. This will make you laugh. This is a true story. And any of my friends who watch this, who know me from school, we had a friend called George, and his name was George. Important thing, George Jackson. Yeah, George Jackson.
Okay.
Now you can see where this is going. Yeah, we all knew Miss George. Everyone knew Miss George. One day we got stopped by the police, and then they pulled us over. They separated us, and they said, "Do you know that guy?" And we said, "Of course we do." What's his name? We said, "George." And then They walked over and you could see them laughing. And I was like, what are they laughing about? And then they came over again to us and they said, your friend George, does he have another name? We went, no, why would he have another name? We've known him for years. He said his first name is Michael Jackson.
Of course.
Right? So the police thought he was joking because obviously what's your name? Michael Jackson. It's like, your name's not Michael. Your name is not Michael Jackson. No, what's your real name? So then they came over to us and we're calling him George. They didn't believe him until documentation. His name's Michael Jackson. It made everyone kind of relax a little bit because it was so funny, so unbelievable. But in the end, we said to him afterwards, when we walked away from the police, we said, why didn't you just call it Michael? Why didn't you just say, my name's Michael when we first met you? He said, if your name was Michael Jackson, would you give yourself another name? And we went, yeah.
Man, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
For example, now I'm thinking, is Adele a famous name in England?
Yeah, Adele is a famous name. Yeah.
Is a famous name, like, oh, a lot of people have. Yeah.
It's not a common name, but there are Adeles. You meet Adeles every now and again. My old neighbor, her name was Adele. So yeah, there are Adeles.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
No, we have very interesting names in the UK now because, like I said, we have immigrants, many people who come to the UK, and they come from all parts of the world. So now you have to get used to saying how names are said in Polish, how names are said in Russian, how names are said in Italian, in Portuguese. So we all have to learn that now. And before, I remember being at school where everyone had English, Anglo names as they called them. So everyone could just read it and it was easy to read. And then what's happened now is that people now struggle to read names. So what people who have names which aren't English names, underneath when they send an email, underneath it, they have the kind of recording of their name. So you know how it exactly sounds. So there's no embarrassment later on. You can play it and listen to it. The last thing I want to say is that, what do you think about famous people calling their kids like Apple or Brooklyn or, names that are not common names of the cities?
I don't know. Like, I guess like everyone, like, once in a while starts with a new trend that turned into a thing, and years afterwards, it's a common name. Like, for sure, like Nick or Nicholas or Richard wasn't like a common name sometime in history, So yeah, I guess that's like what is like the thing. I don't know.
Okay.
Sometimes like names like, for example, I don't even know how to pronounce, like, um Elon Musk kids. They're like
Yeah.
numbers, and
That's just
that's crazy. That
that's
that's too
crazy.
much for
That's
me.
crazy. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad you agree
that's
with me on that. That's just crazy. That's never going to change. We're not going to start calling each other numbers. That's never going to happen, in my opinion.
no,
Not like
and
instead
that's
of
a
Richard, number
little
five.
bit like worrying,
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it's a little weird actually, but yeah, he's Elon Musk. He's like an odd guy to to the
I
least.
hope he's not watching this, by the way, because he will control everything eventually.
Man,
So I'm just saying to
I,
you,
I have to be honest with you. He's listening to us, of course.
all the time he
So
says, "Hi,
man, yeah.
and Mark.
So come on, man.
Mark's listening to us as well. Yeah,
Be
he'll listen to us.
honest. What are you doing? I hope your kids like
Yeah,
your treat right, and not the same way you name your kids. Because come
yeah. Maybe you'll reply in the
on.
comments. You never know. Um,
Sure.
that's it. Yeah, that's it. I've got nothing else to say on the
Yep.
subject.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you, guys. We're gonna have another video about Reddit, which is gonna be, I think, very interesting. And well, leave it a comment, like, subscribe, whatever you guys, or whatever you guys are watching. And thank you very much. See ya.
See ya.